Hi, I'm Dr. Vernet Joseph with Life Matters TV broadcast. And today we're going to be talking about real estate. And I'm telling you, this is going to be exciting. If you've ever thought about real estate, if you've ever thought about owning property, this is the man that you want to talk to. We're talking today to Mark Warlick. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm talking about Arizona recycling. Arizona real estate recycling. How exciting is it to talk about the thing that you love, Mark? Talk to me.
Well, first of all, one of the things I do is I primarily focus with two investors. And I focus really on distressed properties, vacant properties, that kind of thing. So my whole thing is everybody knows what recycling is. Everybody understands what real estate is, and obviously Arizona is where I'm focusing at. So basically what I would like to do is take those problem properties, those problem neighborhood properties, and turn them from eyesores into a place where people can actually have family memories.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this, Mark. Let's talk a little bit backwards, okay? We talked about properties, we talked about real estate. First, let's describe or give a definition of real estate that most people don't really understand. You talked about distressed properties. Right. You talked about, vacant properties. That we're going to be talking about all of this, but talk to the people so they get a better understanding.
Well, I deal with single family homes.
Okay.
And I'm a little bit different because a lot of times people say that your home is your biggest investment. I don't really subscribe to that. Your home may be your biggest purchase. And typically when people purchase their home, if they decide to move up, they're going to actually buy a bigger home or a nicer home in a better neighborhood. They're going to take all the money they made in that first home and roll it all into a second home. That's not really an investment. What an investment does is an investment basically when you invest your money, you then make some money and then you use that money for other things and you may reinvest some of that money. So it's a very, very interesting thing. People often talk about, just to recap, that a home is an investment. No, a home is an expenditure. Very, very different. Very different.
Wow, I love it. And listen, that's why we're here on Life Matters today. We want to give you relevant information that is going to help you to change your mindset as well as change your life. So Mark, now that we've discussed those things, let's talk about some things that most people don't think about when they think real estate. There are a lot of emotional attachments, just like you talked about it being the biggest investment that you'll ever make. We just dispelled that myth. Now let's talk about the emotional attachment that one likes to put on real estate.
Well, understand that when someone grows up in a house, they know everything there is to know about that house. They have memories with that house. They have all kinds of things that occurred and is very near and dear to their heart. So because of that emotional attachment, things change. So when I deal with distressed properties, a lot of times those emotional connections, those attachments, then come up into this kind of conversation when I'm actually sitting talking with someone about their distressed property, their vacant property or something like that. So, that it does complicate the transaction quite a bit.
Absolutely. So we just talked a little bit about emotional attachment. Now I know that there are a lot of different ways for you to, to get into some type of distress when it comes to owning real estate. So let's talk about taxes and how taxes play a part in distressed properties or vacant properties.
Okay. So everybody has to pay property tax, for example. And in many situations, people fall behind in their taxes. So I think in Arizona, you can go several years without actually paying your taxes.
What?
Yeah, several years. And then at some point, they finally go, okay, we're going to foreclose on your property because of unpaid taxes. I'm giving you the sort of the Cliff Notes versions, but there's a lot of other details.
Right, absolutely.
So once that process begins, then it becomes public information, and then investors will come at you like, hey, listen, I'll pay your taxes, or I'll buy your property so you don't lose your property because of taxes. So that's typically how that part works. Now, of course, you got the tax foreclosures, of course you have bank foreclosures, and you now even have HOA foreclosures. So when people don't pay their HOA bill, then the HOA can actually foreclose, take the property.
Are you kidding me?
Not at all. Can take their property because they have not paid their HOA.
Okay, so now we've just discussed some things I'm quite sure you didn't know. Number one, we talked about taxes, but taxes from this perspective. So I can be paying my mortgage, right? But not paying the taxes on my mortgage. And they may let that go on for a little bit.
Absolutely.
But at some point, they're going to come back and say, it's time to pay the reaper.
Right.
So you talked about that aspect of taxes, but then again, let's talk about real estate investors who literally go out and they seek people who haven't paid for their taxes. Let's see if this myth is true or not. Can I, as a real estate investor, come in and buy your property because of the taxes that you owe and put you out? Oh yeah, it's gonna get a little deep, Mark. It's gonna get a little deep.
Well, there's obviously a legal procedure that has to occur in that. Again, I believe it's about 3 or 4 years. I'd have to go back and review, but of unpaid taxes, and then still you have to go through that legal process of the whole foreclosure process to literally take someone's property because they have not paid taxes. In Arizona, because the real estate market is so hot, that typically does not happen. What ends up happening is that a real estate investor will come in, give the owner some amount of money, and then the owner will effectively sell the property to the investor.
All right, so now that we've talked about taxes in different form and fashion, let's talk about how vacant properties can actually bring down homeowners' value and some of the dangers of actually having vacant properties in your neighborhood.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. I can walk down any block in Phoenix and I can identify a vacant property.
Wow.
And HUD data, it's about 2012. Around 2012, and I know this is old data, but around 2012, Phoenix had more vacant properties than Detroit.
What?
Yes. In terms of actual numbers, there were more vacant properties in Phoenix. Now, of course, that's probably changed because we have a lot of people who are moving into this city and state and like that. So that's sort of the situation that we're sort of dealing with. So yeah, no, your question.
Okay, so that's one state of vacant property.
And then how
the dangers. Talk to me about the dangers of having that in your neighborhood.
What happens? First of all, everybody is familiar with when you see a vacant property, you'll see graffiti, you'll see boarded ups, you'll see the landscaping not being taken care of and things like that. What you don't see is that when a property is boarded up, people will come into the property from the backside. And because it's now boarded up, there's no way for the neighbors to actually see what's going on in there.
Understood.
I have literally gone in and seen all kind of drug paraphernalia, all kind of pornography, evidence of all kinds of sex going on inside there. And probably one of my partners, probably the worst thing I've ever seen was a dog that was tied to a post inside a vacant property.
Come on.
That was starved to death.
Wow.
So it's really important to understand that not only do you see the exterior of what's going on, but the interior, there's a lot of things that are going on that's not necessarily obvious. And so those are some of the dangers that you see.
Absolutely. So now that we've dispelled a couple of the myths, Mark, I'd like for you to really talk to the audience and leave them some remarks when it comes to real estate, some things that you really would like them to know.
Well, the thing I'd like to speak to is actually the owners of these vacant properties, because you know, we had talked about the emotional attachment, and I know that there are owners out there that let's say the kids have moved on, but there's still the house that they grew up in, and it's a vacant house, and it's vacant, they're using it for storage or whatever. The thing of it is that those vacant properties are pulling down the values of that neighborhood.
Wow.
Okay, the neighborhood that they grew up in, those vacant properties are actually pulling that value down. And what I do is I like to bring those vacant properties to the investors. I am an investor, but so that we can actually clean that up, turn it into a place where people really want to live, and actually bring the neighborhood back up to where people have those fond memories.
Dignity and value.
Exactly.
Dignity and value. Well, listen, once again, I'm so excited to have you on, Mark. Do you have any type of social media or anything that you'd like to leave with those who are watching us today? How can they get in touch with you?
My website, azrealestaterecycler.com. Again, azrealestaterecycler.com. Okay, that's my website. You can always find me there. And you know, I'm thrilled to have been here. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, you've been listening to Mark Warlick of AZ Real Estate Recyclers. AZ Real Estate Recyclers. This is Life Matters Today television broadcast. I'm Dr. Vernet Joseph, and it's been a good time talking to you today. So if you need real estate help, this is the man you want to see.
Thank you very much, man.